Welcome back to the Weekly Manga Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about all of your favorite ongoing Japanese manga. This week we are talking about DanDaDan Chapter 163, which includes a title drop for a series I don't think anyone expected to ever get a title drop. We're also going to talk about Yotsuba To, Chapter 113, back from a sort of hiatus, and we'll finish up with a brand new series on Jump Plus that is not from a Japanese team. Stick around to hear about No Name. All that, manga news, and more coming right up. Hello again, my name is Bruce. I am the proprietor of the White Gray Black YouTube channel, and this week I am joined again by DanDaDan to my Dan, Gautam.
What's up?
I wrote that and it didn't make much sense. Special shout out at the top of the show.
I dig it.
Thanks to our Patreon subscribers, Yaji Black. I had an interesting conversation with him on Patreon about romance manga. So if you're interested in having more direct contact or some bonus stuff, check that out. All right. So what is the DanDaDan? This is chapter 163. Saviors Don't Be Late by Yukinobu Tatsu. This, I think, caps off the end of, I don't know what you want to call the arc. It'll have some name. The storybook arc, the Umbrella Man arc, the card arc. I don't know.
Umbrella Boy.
Umbrella Boy arc. I read this week to week, Gautam. You sort of did a big catch up, I think, before the show. So tell me how it was reading this kind of back to back here.
Yeah, I had a great time. I thought it was a really fun arc. With that said, I think among the DanDaDan arcs, probably on the lower end but they're all bangers, right? Mm-hmm. So this was also a banger.
So it's like a 9.4 instead of a 10.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a slightly weaker arc than normal, but it was ultra creative. Mm-hmm. Just a real fun time reading it. Like there were tons of emotional roller coaster moments and some incredibly just dynamic action. Just a great time, like DanDaDan always is.
Yeah.
What did you think, Bruce?
I really like this arc. I tend to agree. I thought overall super good arc. I think that if it hadn't ended with the bombshell that is the last page of this chapter, and subsequently Yukinobu Tatsu going on a 1-month hiatus after dropping this page, I think if it hadn't ended on that, I definitely agree that it probably would have been one of the weaker, like not bad, but maybe the weakest arc. I think it had a slow start for me was the big issue. I didn't super enjoy the first couple, the stuff where like they let Turbo Granny go in the police box to look for the thing. Chapters like that were sort of like, okay, it's whatever. But again, that is like legitimately dropping an S+ overall series where almost every arc is an A+ or an S to like, oh, this is just an A. It's still a really good arc.
Yeah, it's still a great time.
Yeah.
I think my only issue with it is that I feel like it tied up really fast. Like super duper fast.
Oh, really? See, I didn't feel like that reading it week to week. So that might be maybe binging it because it is just kind of a big action scene at the end, I guess. So.
Yeah, exactly. So it went from Momo and Zuma shenanigans to kind of unsealing the yokai, and then Okurin is there, and like everything kind of resolves at a breakneck pace. Mm-hmm. And I guess I didn't read. I just caught up all at once, so it felt like it had a lot of setup and it ended super fast, which was surprising. But it was still a fun time, all in all, and it had such a fucking effective flashback. It was so good.
Oh, I love the flashback. Yeah, we talked about that maybe like 5 or 6 weeks ago. I think we talked about that on the podcast. You can go check that out. We'll go through this chapter really quick. I liked Momo here with Granny, where Turbo Granny's like, I would never abandon you, and she's like, oh, my body's disintegrating. He's like, no, you can take Momo. Just let me survive, please.
I love Turbo Granny. Such a shithead.
Like probably the best mascot character I've seen in like any action shonen.
They have two good ones. I also like I'm forgetting her name, but it's like the turtle head kitty. Like the one that looks like a Sanrio character.
The one that follows around the singing girl. Is that what you're talking about? Right? Yeah, that's
her
like her dead friend spirit or whatever.
Cowabunga, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That one's also good. They start getting lifted out. I'm interested to see how this will be handled because as they exit the storybook thing, Turbo Granny returns to normal handheld size, and Momo is very small, which kind of is a cool reflection reversal because this whole arc was very Alice in Wonderland coded, I guess I would say.
It was
the sort of the idea of the knights and the cards and like going into a world, like all that stuff is very our ideas not necessarily taken from Alice in Wonderland, but definitely reflected Alice in Wonderland. And ending this with she is still small, that to me kind of solidifies it as like, yes, this was meant to be sort of an Alice in Wonderland type thing. Because one of the big things in Alice in Wonderland is she takes a little potion, she shrinks to go through this is a keyhole in a door, I think is how she gets through. But
I think I think you're definitely on point with that. It's like an Alice in Wonderland homage with a little bit of Wizard of Oz mixed in there with the Lollipop Guild at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, fun stuff.
We get Count Saint Germain, who chases down kind of the bad guy here, who apparently he had made a deal with, and we first saw Count Saint Germain like, I want to say almost a year ago. I think it was like 8 or 9 months ago. He like appeared and then he was like, he's on the cover of like volume 12 or 11 or 13 or something. We're like 2 or 3 volumes past that.
What did he do? I don't remember.
He didn't do anything. He like showed up at their school or something and maybe like asked about the golden ball. He like didn't do much. We like saw him at the end of a chapter and then we never saw him again. And then we saw him one more time and then he shows up at the end of this. So we do not know much about him. Other than what you can get from Googling his name, which, I might save for later. I might keep it here. But yeah, we see that he basically made a deal with this yokai who is in this thing that's like, hey, it's like you said, if you get me out of the cursed trunk, in exchange, I'll lend you my power. That was our agreement, wasn't? And he's like, nope. It's like we had an agreement. If I got you out of the cursed trunk, then your power would be mine to take. He like stabs him with this, basically like a tiny little sword, and then like slots it into his katana. And yeah, it's called Fairy Tale Card. So
it seems like admitting to like, because he right before this he makes the yokai admit that he lost.
Mm-hmm.
And once he said that, he stabs the yokai, the little yokai dude, and takes his power. I wonder if that is like the condition for activating whatever tool he did to steal the yokai power.
I think it is. And he shows him using the power. I think it is, and here's why. I guess I'll bring up this part now. It's back later. I just Googled. I was like, okay, Count Saint Germain sounds like could be a real name. If you Google Count Saint Germain, the Wikipedia article basically says this is the real guy who is assumed to be Dracula. So the idea of vampires needing to be invited inside in order to enter a home, this seems very similar to me, right? Like you have to admit that I bested you so I can take your power. You have to invite me into your home so I can enter into it. It's kind of, that is a little vampire-y to me. So that makes sense. Also, he
also made it clear, like in one of his dialogue earlier, where he said like humans among the ages are all like they're always fools or something. Yeah, he's older than he appears. You know?
He has a couple of lines I think that kind of sort of imply that he's like, oh, this guy's been around for, he looks like in anime terms that he's like 18 or 20, but he makes a couple of lines where he seems like he's much older. So yeah, I do think this guy is the big bad of part 2. I think that we can say kind of the part 1 big bads ended with Vamola's stuff and the space alien invasion. I would say that kind of is the first, large arc that ended last year sometime. Or maybe even earlier this year. Might have ended earlier this year, but yeah, this seems to be setting up more of a yokai fantasy focused arc. Something like that going forward. But yeah, I think he's interesting. I think recoding Dracula and having him steal yokai powers and having, half or so, maybe more than half of our main kids have yokai powers. It's like everybody but Momo and the chubby kid, right? Like everybody else has some kind of yokai power, I think. And Vamola.
Oh yeah.
Vamola doesn't. So it's like 5 out of 3 of them have yokai powers. So
Well, he's like after everything. He mentions UFOs and stuff.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
Momola fits like the UFO category, I suppose. I guess only the man in the chair, the chubby like dirty joke guy.
Yeah,
I'm forgetting his name. I like
we
his
haven't seen him in
character
a bit,
now,
but
but yeah, we haven't seen him in a bit. He's like the only one without a power, I think.
yeah. Yeah, he says here, like you mentioned, I wish to know all the mysteries of this world. I want every enchanted object, UFO, and anything else to be mine, even the power of yokai, because I am a collector of the paranormal. All right, let's get into it. He says, this is the very end of the chapter, he says, oh, one other thing. If I had to choose, this is the one thing that's most important to me. And he says, are you familiar with DanDaDan? I gotta say, turning this page, or, flipping this page and seeing this is like, wait a minute, a DanDaDan title drop. This blows my mind. I thought this was DanDaDan was like just nonsense word, right? Like,
Yeah,
do rah 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 or whatever, right? Like it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter. This page visually is also striking and amazing. Yeah, how did you feel about DanDaDan title drop?
Well, I have no idea.
Cool.
I don't even know what that means. But do you think these, like, of course, these Buddhist patterns, do you think the Buddhist patterns here, is that what's on his coat?
On
Like-
Count Saint Germain's coat, or
Yeah. Go back a few. You see those,
I
you
see
see the shoulders?
yeah, maybe could
I
just
can't
be
tell.
fancy.
It could just be a fancy lad. Who knows?
Yeah, there is. Okay, so I did a little bit of research here. So buckle your fucking seatbelts. I have a page and a half of notes talking about. Here it is. This is what I think. What is the DanDaDan? We're going to start with the imagery here, right? The imagery here is Buddhist imagery, and there are 9. There are 9 circles. There are 8 circles on the outside, 1 on the inside. A pretty quick Googling here brought me to the Buddhist ideal of 9 consciousnesses. And this is included in most versions of Buddhism. Some of them only have 8, some of them 9. The idea of these consciousnesses is that there's 5 senses. Your 5 main senses is part of your consciousness. The 6th is the idea of understanding. So you are holding an orange. This sort of understanding from your 5 senses. So I'm holding an orange, I can smell it, I can see it, I know that this is an orange and not just an orange ball because my 5 senses are telling me more, and my 6th sense, quote unquote, is understanding it. The 7th sense is sort of abstract thinking, things you can think of without using the senses. And then we get into the 2 interesting ones, which are the 8th and the 9th. So in these 9 consciousnesses, the 8th is, and this is sort of copied from Wikipedia, the 8th is your storehouse of consciousness or karma. So straight from Wiki, the 8th consciousness accumulates all of one's karmic energy throughout interacting with others, as well as the causes and effects of one's actions. It stores all of one's thoughts, words, and deeds throughout a lifetime. The 8th is said to persist after death. So the 8th is a kind of the idea of karma, right? Your thoughts and actions inform this power. Something interesting here that I think we're trying to connect this all back to what we know and what we've read of 163 chapters of DanDaDan. So causes and effects of one's actions, karmic energy through interacting with others. Something we've noted about DanDaDan is the sort of ever-growing cast of characters, how there's sort of continually more and more people who are helped out by our main cast, and things like that. So I think that idea ties into that kind of loosely, but it seems to fit for me at least. And the most interesting one I would say is the 9th and final consciousness. This is sort of the final enlightenment consciousness. Buddha's nature is sometimes it's called. The purest consciousness cannot be tarnished by any of the karmic energy from the previous 8 levels. It is a way of ridding oneself of negative karma by rising above to the 9th consciousness. I underlined ridding oneself of negative karma. I think that's something we have seen a couple of times happen in DanDaDan. We saw the yokai who stalks Momo. She sort of rids herself of negative karma, quote unquote, and becomes like a good version of a bad thing. The same thing happens with the dancer yokai and the second girl, of the group. The same thing happens, I kind of think, with Gigi's demon. This I think kind of cohesively fits in. That line stood out to me, the line of ridding oneself of negative karma, because that's something I think we see in DanDaDan like pretty often. Yeah, Dancer Spirit, Karaoke Spirit, Umbrella Spirit, all of those had that. So yeah, that's are you with me so far, Gautam?
Not really, but I keep going.
Okay, these are some pictures that people pulled up. This is a shield of a guy from the storybook arc that we just went through. You'll notice his shield has, again, nine circles. Here's a little bit better picture of it. You will notice here that there are sort of 5 on the outside and then 4 connected inner. That would be your 5 senses and your 4 sort of internal karmic thought consciousnesses, you could say. I think that they're split that way intentionally. I think that this reinforces the idea that the 9 consciousnesses have something to do with this. Okay, and that introduces us to the idea that, okay, if you're with me here, you are agreeing that Japanese Buddhism has something to do with DanDaDan. So I started clicking on Wikipedia articles and started Control-Fing Dan and DA and just saw what came up. And I found a couple of interesting things. The first thing basically led me to the idea of Japanese Buddhism, which is called Nichiren Buddhism. That's named after a dude. There's a Buddhist priest called Nichiren. He was in like the 12 or 1300s. Not super important there. From Nichiren Buddhism, I found something called the Danka system. D-A-N, Danka system. During the Edo period, during the time that Nichiren Buddhism was around and growing, temples were subsumed into the shogunate's Danka system, which is a sort of a nationwide parasystem designed to ensure religious peace, blah, blah, blah. And Ruda is very anti-Christian. In this system, Buddhist temples and their ceremonial duties were forced to carry out state administrative functions, blah, blah, blah. Not super important there. Just, this is the one that I'm sort of least sure of, but it led me to all the others. So I have a feeling that it might be important. The Danka system, which is essentially Buddhist rule, not rule, but Buddhist state rule, I guess you could say. That's an extreme simplification of it. Anyone who knows the history of Japan, but we're going to go with it. That led me to the idea of Gohonzon. And the reason we need to talk about Gohonzon is this is a term for a venerated religious object in Japanese Buddhism. I think we see a couple of these in DanDaDan, these Gohonzon. And I'm wondering if anyone knows the official word verbiage or reads this in Japanese and maybe watches the show, maybe they can let me know in the comments. Is this a word that we've ever seen used in DanDaDan? Because I feel like it's possible we have. It's, again, this is just a religious object in Japanese Buddhism. It may take the form of a scroll or statuary, a statue. The term Gohonzon typically refers, I'm reading straight from Wiki here, to the mainstream use of venerated objects within Nichiren Buddhism, referring to the calligraphic, that's a hard word, the calligraphic paper mandala inscribed by the 13th Japanese Buddhist priest Nichiren, which, as we established earlier, Nichiren Buddhism is Japanese Buddhism. That's sort of, it was essentially founded by him. So now we have our middle da. We have a mandala. Because we are shown that in Nichiren Buddhism, the guy who founded Nichiren Buddhism, so Japanese Buddhism, I might just call it that because it's easier. The guy who founded Japanese Buddhism is well known to have had a sort of a holy scroll with a mandala on it, right? So Danka system, Japanese Buddhism, the man Nichiren founded it. He has a mandala on a scroll that is associated with him. Now we have Dan-da. So again, the mandala is sort of a geometric configuration of symbols. I'm zooming in, geometric configuration of symbols. Where did I go? In various spiritual traditions, may be employed for focusing attention of practitioners and adepts, spiritual guidance tool, blah, blah, blah. In Eastern religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Shintoism, right? Buddhism and Shintoism are Japanese religions. It is used as a map representing deities, or especially in the case of Shinto paradises or actual shrines. So, again, what we're looking at on this page in DanDaDan are essentially mandala, right? I had to do this in one of my psychology classes in college. They are usually circular, not always circular. They're usually circular and kind of patterned. Sometimes partially symmetrical, but not fully symmetrical. What is on this page is a mandala. I think this is a lock. I'm going to be real. I'm super confident. You quote me on it. Part of the word DanDaDan comes from the word mandala. And I'm going to say that that's the middle da, because the other thing I have here is Dan. So are you with me, Gautam? Shintoism?
No, I'm so far not with you. This has been imparsible.
Nice.
I haven't followed most. I'm trying though.
Okay. That's good. There's only one more thing and we're almost done. So after mandala, I had to find another Dan. So the kids in DanDaDan, they go, there's a shrine. There have been multiple shrines and temples and locations. They've been made. Sometimes they're important, sometimes they're not. I found the word Butsudan. Again, Butsudan, we're calling this our final Dan, is a shrine found in Japanese Buddhist temples. So this is a shrine inside the temple, used for paying respects to Buddha or dead family members or dead spirits. What are the majority of our team powered by, which we mentioned? They're powered by dead spirits. I feel kind of confident on this one. It's the first Dan that I'm not sure of. I think that mandala, the idea of a mandala, because we have them here, we've had them in this past arc. We've seen them, I want to say before this at some point. And then Butsudan, the idea of a shrine inside a Buddhist temple that holds some sort of respect to Buddha or prayer to the dead. I think that is an important thing. So essentially we have Danka system, which is Buddhist rule in Japan. We have a mandala, that's our da. We have our first Dan da, and then we have Butsudan, which is a shrine or a worship area inside the shrine of a Buddhist temple to Buddha or other dead deities. So that's our DanDaDan. That's my DanDaDan guess right there. Is essentially the words. Japanese wordplay does this, right? You see Japanese how to word mashups. They will take the first part of one word, the second part of another word, cut them off, put them together. People kind of understand, yes, that is the first part of carrot and the next part of whatever, right? Like Pokemon are named like this. This is how they literally name Pokemon, right? They take reptile plant and they put the two words together and it's Bulbasaur or whatever, right?
Or Pokemon meaning pocket monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, literally. There you go. That's an even better example. Yeah. Pokemon is literally pocket monsters. They take them, they bash them together. My idea, and this is partially, my idea of DanDaDan is that they're essentially just doing this 3 times. And the first one is the one I'm most unsure about. I'm not sure about the Danka system, but I do think that Danka system, mandala, and Butsudan. I think mandala and Butsudan make a lot of sense here. It all relates to Japanese Shintoism. So that's what I think DanDaDan is, or DanDaDan, DanDaDan, whatever. And I think that what this means is that I think Count Saint Germain is going after the power of Buddha. I think which would be like an ultimate power in Nichiren Buddhism, Japanese Buddhism. So,
gotcha.
It only took about 8 minutes.
That was wholly impartial.
That's fine.
But you said it. It was. I wish Charlie Kelly with the conspiracy board was up. I
wish I had a board because I literally would have written it. Maybe I need to get a dry erase board and just stand up and go through what I think it is. Be great.
I wish I was in your head so I could understand what you were saying.
Yeah. So the short of it is I went looking for Japanese Buddhist Wikipedia pages and I Control F'd Dan and DA and looked for words that related. And those are the words that I found. And I think all 3 of them connect to DanDaDan. I think 2 out of 3 are really strong. I think mandala, because literally on the page where he says, "Are you familiar with DanDaDan?" we are looking at Buddhist mandala, like mandalas. There's 9 of them. I think there's 9 consciousnesses. I think something is important there. That might just be reinforce the idea that it's Buddha. I don't know. So that's my call here is that Count Saint Germain is asking, are you familiar with DanDaDan? Because that is something to do with the power of Buddha, which would be like an ultimate power or potentially like a mental, I don't know, some kind of ultimate Buddha power. That's my guess.
And Buddha is an alien.
It could be. We've seen Buddha in DanDaDan before, right? When the chubby kid controls the shape-shifting house, he turns it into Buddha to fight.
The Gurren Lagann Buddha
yes, bot. He turns it into Buddha to fight. So this is not the first time Buddha has appeared. I don't know. So That's my Hail Mary. That's my ADHD hyper-focused Hail Mary to get that out there. It didn't take too long, luckily. I was afraid that it was going to be like 30 minutes of me going through every detail of it. It only took about 10. So get in the comments. How do you feel about it? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Maybe.
Did that make any sense to you?
I don't know.
Were you following?
Yeah. There could have been more pictures with it, but I didn't want to go through too many pictures. But yeah, I'm fairly confident in the 9 consciousnesses, and I'm fairly confident in Mandala and Butsudan. Those seem connected. Maybe it's Buddha. Maybe the middle is, I don't know. Gautam, anything else on DanDaDan here? We can.
No, it's a good time. I enjoyed your ADHD fueled monologue, and I enjoyed reading. I enjoyed catching up on DanDaDan. It's always a good time.
It's super good. Even if none of this comes true, who cares? It's always surprising, and I like that about it.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. Let's move on to Yotsuba To. This is chapter 113. This is by Azuma Kiyohiko. It's been like 8 months since a chapter, right, Gautam? So
it's been 8 months. It's so infrequent that Yotsuba publishes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna see like a fan favorite character, Fuka, in this chapter. I only got like 4 pages of the chapter because it is like,
I grabbed one more because I thought it was funny, but yeah.
It's a scattershot of ideas. It's just Yotsuba being a classic slice of life show. But yeah, it's been 8 months since the last chapter, and it's been like, I think some guy said it's been 4 years since we've last seen Fuka on page.
Oh, really?
Which is wild to hear. Honestly, it's fine. I like Yotsuba publishes when it's publishing, and it's always good. So it's just like a happy little surprise whenever we see a chapter of Yotsuba. Fuka is the fan favorite because she is ultimately so goddamn relatable.
She's the depressed internet browsing person.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, she wakes up and then she's still sleepy. I love these first few panels because Enna and Yotsuba are just watching some animal videos and they're talking about how cute the animal is, and Fuka instantly assumes they're talking about her. Mm-hmm. Well, what's self-confidence? Great job, Fuka.
Just woke up.
Yeah. Then they move from the couch. She just goes and takes a nap, and Yotsuba is just dead eye staring at her. And then in the next page is she's just like, she clarifies. It's like, no, we weren't talking about you, Fuka. And then she goes back to doing what she was doing.
It's so good. This chapter is super cute. I read it. They do like a fun like surgery on Fuka, which was really cute. I read one more page because I thought this is hilarious. Fuka's like trying to find like, I need a hobby, I need something to do, I need something to take up my time. And they talk to I don't even know who this girl's name is, but they're like talking about she
Asagi,
takes she takes care of succulents, and she's like, you take care of them? Then I was like, you just look at them? And then these 3 bottom pages are hilarious. It's just like they're all just like so sad that they're just looking at succulents.
It's really funny. She's out here gatekeeping hobbies while not like Fuka's like search for hobbies this chapter was like really like relatable in that she's like, I always see people like being mountain hikers and I want to do that. You know, it's cheap, it's free, you know, and it's like very clearly an eyes bigger than her stomach kind of an attitude that I get all the time, where I love the aesthetic of doing a certain hobby, but then I actually don't want to spend a lot of time pursuing it. I'd rather just lie down on the couch and scroll like Fuka is doing. Yeah,
for sure. I thought this was cute though. Yotsuba, it's in one of those. It's pretty easy to jump in once you know what's going on. So I did like this chapter.
Honestly, Yotsuba is just so easy to jump into it. Like at any point, it's pretty static in that it's about a cute little girl just living her life. And yeah, I mentioned this to you, but honestly, it's a lot like the Japanese Calvin and Hobbes, that the author kind of just does whatever they want and only puts out stuff when he knows it's good, kind of like Watterson. And just like Calvin, Yotsuba is like a rambunctious, overly imaginative little kid. So it always ends up being a good time.
I think that's a pretty decent comparison for sure.
Yeah.
Anything else on Yotsuba To?
No, not at all. But it's my favorite slice of life. If you haven't read it, just go read it. It's really cute. It's really good.
It's on all your lists when we recommend or talk about our favorites.
I love the heck out of it, man.
Yeah, it's good. All right, let's talk about the last thing this week is there's a new manga on Jump Plus and Manga Plus on our end called No Name. The reason this one is interesting and one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it is No Name is published officially by Manga Plus, Jump Plus. It's published in Japanese and English. The story here is written by a man named Rafal Jaki. This man is not Japanese and is art by Machine Gamu. I could not find much information about Machine Gamu, so I don't know if they're Japanese or not. Some of the tweets and stuff I saw seem to imply that they aren't, that both of these guys are non-Japanese. I'm not totally sure on that.
Is the artist's name a play on like Machine Gun?
I think so. Or Machine Game Ganu. Something like that.
Got it.
Rafal Jaki, you may recognize their name. They are the showrunner and executive producer on Cyberpunk Edgerunners. They also essentially wrote the series, from what I understand. They are formerly of CD Projekt Red. They did writing on the original Cyberpunk game, and what's the card game in The Witcher called? Gwent.
Gwent.
They did writing on the Gwent game also. So
there's right. Oh, it had its own game, didn't it? Okay.
Yeah, it did. And this manga is the first winner of the Gold Award. So Manga Plus has sort of a self-submitted a section for self-submitted manga. And if you win certain awards by getting a certain amount of views or votes, I don't know exactly how it works. They give out a lot of bronze and silvers. Bronze and silvers a lot of times will be translated even over here in the West. This is the first gold award they've given out in something, I think, like 2 years. Was to the one shot that these guys published, also called No Name. And what the gold award gives them is 1 million Japanese yen. So about, what is that? $10,000? Well, no, hold on. $60,000? I think that's about right.
Yeah. It's like 60 to 70.
$70,000 with the conversion stuff now. They get publication on Jump Plus and Manga Plus. So these guys essentially published a one shot so good that everyone was like, you have to actually serialize this, and they got serialized. So that is a cool story of how these guys got in here. They have an interesting history. I think Cyberpunk Edgerunners. You watch Cyberpunk Edgerunners, right?
I have not. But
have you really not seen Edgerunners? Holy shit! Okay,
no. Lucy's being added to Guilty Gear, so
that's her name,
really
right? Good.
That's a character.
Yeah, you need that to your list. It's really good. And it's pretty short. It's like 12 episodes.
Yeah, it's Trigger too. I love Trigger.
Yeah, exactly. It's Trigger. It's very good. So this is very interesting. This we'll talk about at the end of the year. I want to say this maybe satisfies my yearly prediction of we have a Western duo published in an official magazine. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't.
We specified it's like a physical copy, right? Like a physical magazine.
Yeah, I think maybe we did. So, they did have an ad. No Name does have an ad inside Weekly Shonen Jump, so they're almost there.
So I guess technically you'd be right, huh? I don't know. We'll have to see the word.
Yeah, we'll adjust it later. So 2 chapters of this came out. Gautam, how did you feel about No Name here?
I thought it was pretty good. It was kind of an interesting read in that, like, tonally chapter 1 and 2 were very different. Mm-hmm. But it felt both of them felt good in a vacuum, and together they felt odd.
Yeah.
But in a Black Lagoon kind of way, where I had fun with it regardless. How about you, Bruce?
I will say that I liked it. I didn't love it. I think part of it is what you mentioned. Chapter 1 is basically just the one shot. I think maybe updated a little bit, and then chapter 2 is kind of the start of their serialization, I guess you could say. But it did. I agree that it did feel a little disparate, a little different between sort of the events that happened in chapter 1 and the stuff that happened in chapter 2. I think this interests me more than I technically enjoyed the first 2 chapters. I guess I will say this has piqued my interest. And the fact that, like, the main character killed a woman and is going to go to therapy for it at the end of chapter 2 is like, okay, The Sopranos is one of the greatest show ever, and it's about a mobster going to therapy. Like, so
right. I liked those parts, and I don't get me wrong. I like the chapter 2 bear fight stuff too, but it was just It was just odd in contrast to the tone of the first chapter, which was very heavy.
Yeah, and I think knowing that this is by a guy who did a lot of writing on cyberpunk, I see a lot of the same sort of like depressing themes of like oppression and not being able to escape your place in life. There's a lot of hatred in chapter 1 from the sort of quote unquote lower class people to the upper class guy. They're like, he's going to get away with it because he's rich or whatever. That's a very kind of cyberpunk ideal, I would say, or at least a late stage capitalism ideal even.
Right.
I thought the power system is interesting. I like that the power system, there's some comments online that the Japanese were confused by the power system. And I think we have a lot of that in the West with Japanese names where it's like, oh, this name is a Japanese pun and you wouldn't get it unless there's this one comment on Reddit that said it. And it's like, I think there's probably need somebody in Japan to inform them like, oh yes, this guy's name is Ralph. That is the, Norwegian or Scandinavian word for wolf. Like his name is literally wolf. So he has wolf powers. Like her name is Ula, which is, one of the northern European words for bear. So she has a bear power, like Ursa.
Right.
So it's like, I think that if they like understood that, they might get it better. Cause I saw some comments about like, all that stuff, but yeah, I did especially like the art.
That's a little strange because I feel like it's just context to understand that. But, and because I'm not familiar with these names either. Right. I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Is it really that confusing? Is that the feedback?
Well, and I think for Japanese people, it's just because their naming conventions are so different, and maybe the way it's spelled or
it's a weird power system too. So
it is,
I mean, and they haven't fully explained that outside of you having to understand based on context. So maybe it's like something to be explained in chapter 3 for anyone who doesn't understand.
Yeah, or I think expounded on slowly because this does seem like it's going to be one of those like a mystery. We sort of get, I guess, the tease of it at the very end of chapter 1. There's like a picture that says no name or something on it. I would assume that this is going to be what power does someone with no name have? Maybe it's whatever name they give themselves in the moment, and it's like a any powers you want thing.
This is why things are so explicitly stated, like out loud, because I think a lot of people just don't put it together.
Yeah,
well, it's just like a frustrating thing as a reader who like puts the context clues together, because it's like, yeah, but I figured that out. Why are you just flat out telling me again, what you've already showed me?
I also do. Sorry, go ahead.
It exists for a reason.
Yeah.
No, they're also called a no-name bureau. I just feel like I don't understand how it's a source of confusion, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I do wonder, because this is, I would assume, initially written in English, and translated. I don't know, like, Shueisha, right, owns this largest Japanese publisher of manga. How many times do you think they have taken an English property and translated it into Japanese and published it? My guess is not very often. So I don't know if I'm sure that there's people that they can hire, freelance or whatever to, hey, translate this from English into Japanese. But to have someone who's sort of like intimately familiar with, like manga and action manga and, this is sort of a shonen seinen mix, maybe more seinen, kind of adult stuff. Like maybe there's just some translation stuff in there. It's like literally impossible for me to tell. I don't know Japanese, so I'm curious about that.
Also, this is the target demo skews really young, so we could put the context together because we've read stuff before. But
that's true.
Maybe it's someone's first foray into a lot of this stuff, and this is a pretty unique power system. So yeah, I can see that.
Also published only digitally, which I think skews even younger. I would older Jump viewers probably go and buy the magazine on Thursdays or whatever it is. Everybody else does.
Boomers.
Yeah.
I thought the power system was cool. I liked Dog 1 and Dog 2. Dog 1 that only protects its master, and Dog 2 that is the healer dog, but can also use a fucking hatchet. Sick.
I grabbed a couple panels here. We can just click through them. I did think it's interesting. The opening pages I liked because it's the guy like, we wanted to name our kid, and they're like, nope, sorry, your guy's name is Farmer, like Yorn.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, no, it's like an existential crisis thing. I thought that was a cool kind of introduction to like, oh, okay, names are important. You don't get to name your own child.
Yeah, because the government dictates
Yeah.
who gets named what, because they don't want someone to be named like Destroyer of Worlds and become the Destroyer of Worlds, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Because assumedly it's just, a fact of the world that your name gives you a power. So we meet sort of like our kind of main bad guy here. He is a bad dude, although he's not technically the antagonist of the chapter. Bodil, who's like human commander. Ralph is wolf commander. And then Ralph and Ursula are sort of our two main characters. I thought it was interesting how this sort of politician Bodil guy just like uses his power on the duo, and they like realize it when they get outside. Like I thought this was cool.
Yeah, that's cool, and also they're not very good cops.
Yeah,
like because they just let it go.
All
which
of
is
chapter
fair.
one, I would say all of chapter one is them not being very good cops, if we're being honest. Which maybe was the thing that bothered me about it a little bit, but
is that a flaw? I mean, like maybe
I don't
they're
know.
intentionally written to be not very good cops, you know? I like the visual indicator that Ralph is stressed when he like has his little doggy stressed all over there.
Yeah. Also, I'll point out, like, if I showed you these two people on the left and be like, do these people look like they're from Cyberpunk? You'd be like, oh yeah, absolutely. Those are like Cyberpunk.
Oh, they
characters.
definitely do.
So I think the visual design of it there is pretty consistent, which this guy's, Ralph's jacket says Howl on the back. That was funny.
I don't know why, but through the whole first chapter, I didn't think these two were our main characters. I was like, okay, where's the real main character? I don't know why.
It's a little, I think something else about the chapter that's, I won't say positive or negative, that's interesting. It is a little more understated and maybe subtle than a lot of things that we get out of Japan. Which I think speaks a little bit more potentially to Western comics. I've read Western comics that are like this, right? Where it's kind of like, the first chapter, you don't really know who the main character is. I mean, if you've read something like From Hell, right? Which is kind of the story of Jack the Ripper and people trying to find him. Like, you have no idea who the main character is for like a lot of chapters in that, but it's also an amazing series. But yeah.
I think it's like, because they're not bombastic, you know, they're well, the girl maybe more so than the guy. The guy is just like a very down-to-earth feeling dude.
Yeah. Well, we also are we aren't really introduced to them in like they don't burst onto the scene. They don't sort of, and maybe this is kind of a negative, but they don't sort of immediately show us who they are when they show up. They show up, they sort of calmly explain we're the police, blah, blah, blah. We don't really get what kind of characters they are until later on in chapter one. So I think that is kind of maybe like not a huge negative, but it's much more subtle. It kind of develops more slowly. Because historically,
I guess I don't know if you're right. But like I think the problem, maybe this isn't a problem. I don't know what the intention is that like I come out of these two chapters just thinking they're pretty bad at what they do and they're kind of naive. Yeah. You know, like that. But maybe that's what we're supposed to come out of this with. Yeah, is that they're rookies. You know.
I think you're getting very close to what I think my main complaint about the first two chapters here are. I'll save it for the end and hopefully remember it. But yeah, these like I do like his wolves. I think that's a cool power. I like that he has 3 of them. I thought it was very cool. Where does he do it? I thought it was very cool when he like I have a secret wolf. He like introduces them like, this is 1 and 2, my 2 wolves, and he's like, haha, I have a 3rd wolf. Joke's on you.
Okay. I didn't put that together. I thought that was just one of the wolves, one of the 2 wolves.
No, did I grab the page of it? No, I don't think I did. He introduces them and says like, this is like, like the numbers 1 and 2 in like Scandinavian or whatever. And then the 3rd one comes out and I think he says like the number 3 or whatever. So, which is like his attack wolf, which is like, oh, that was cool. We meet kind of this girl. This is the guy who mind controlled them and told them to go find his son. This is their mom. Here's a weird thing. I really liked the encounter with this mom and the baby. I liked sort of the standoff and saying like tell me who you are, like show me your badges, tell me your names, tell me your powers. It was very like, okay, people understand. She knows, she's being safe. She's being very smart. the grandma and the kid. She was cool with a gun. I liked that she told like the sort of backstory that she explained was like tragic, like very cyberpunk tragic to me, where it's like this guy has just complete power over, like literally complete power over me with his NP, which is name power, I guess I will assume.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. I thought her explaining that was super tragic and was really good. What I didn't like was she turns on a dime at the end of this and she dies from it. And it's like, I just didn't really believe that dime turn at the very end where she was just kind of.
Yeah, I think it's because the officer did the worst possible move.
Yeah.
And called the kid by the father's name.
Yeah.
When clearly that's what she was talking about the whole time. Like, is how she wanted to avoid that.
Yeah. Which maybe, well, and I'm rethinking it.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
He just triggered her. Like, it makes no sense that he would. Well, I guess it makes sense that he would do it like carelessly, but it's just such a bad move.
Yeah, I mean,
really,
I guess it was
really put your foot in.
It was one of these weird things where it's like she's sad. She's describing this tragic thing. She's saying like, I guess she doesn't really trust them, but she's kind of asking for their help. And then he like drops the name, and she's just like, "Don't you dare call him that." And she's like, "Okay, I guess I'm going to kill both of these cops now." Like,
it's because he inches forward right after she freaks out for some reason. Like he in the moment of the most tense moment where he said the wrong thing, he also steps forward towards her, which is just a bad play. Yeah, like you could have probably could have stepped forward like a minute before he said that, and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But no, it's a quick heel turn. It makes sense in that the cop did a really bad job.
Yeah, which I think, potentially might be exploring. Japanese people might not like or understand this, but we might be going into more of how Western police works, because you'll notice reading manga, the police in Japanese media are usually pretty helpful. Like, generally they're not the bad guys. And if for America, the cops are the bad guys to an extremely large subset of people, which is virtually almost everyone who is not extremely rich. So I wonder if it's sort of hinting more on that, or we're going to play on that. But yeah, so we get an idea that her name makes her into, I don't know, some kind of werewolf type thing. I didn't know exactly. I don't remember if she says her name, what it was, but, I did think I do like, Ursula's like bear form, I think looks cool. I like that she like transformed back into, and I think her jacket is cool the way it like is really loose on her. Like the style,
it like suits to fit her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I also like that out of her bear jacket sleeve, when she transforms back, she pulls up the gun, which I guess was in her sleeve. I don't know. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's cool. The visual and design elements and the visual storytelling, I think, are all really good in here. Yeah. So Ursula ends up shooting the mom who was attacking. Which again, this is one of those things. Kind of like, you were a bear, you probably could have just like tackled her and fought and like calmed her down. Like, you're bigger, maybe. I don't know. It's this again, and I'm seeing now when I'm talking about it. Some of my issues with it are becoming more clear. Maybe this is literally just about like, there's an angle here of escalation of violence of police, right? Like, Ursula had the ability to do a non-lethal takedown. She's literally a bear. She could have fought her off, might have been hurt a little bit, but instead she immediately defaulted to, I'm going straight for my gun and shooting this person. So maybe there's commentary there, maybe not. I don't know.
I think you're right. But to give this a generous read, I think this lady's name power probably made her very fast.
That's true. Yeah, maybe it was too fast.
Even then, it seems like, I don't know. It seems like they're both rookies. I don't know how long they've been in the force, but judging by Ralph's naivety, especially at the end of this chapter, I anticipate they're both kind of fresh.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
I'm a little confused about it. I guess I'll bring up my big issue here. We don't have to totally go through chapter 2. My big issue, I think, is with these two lead characters, and they're not well characterized to me. I think would be my main thing. And I think that's kind of with what I was saying about the kind of subtle storytelling and not super direct, like we were saying. Because you're right. I don't really know. Because on one hand, I think you're right. They seem to just mess up a lot in chapter 1. And it ends up with the kid back in the hands of his dad, who we know is an evil mind controller guy. The mom is dead. This grandma hates them and like spits on her face. But then in chapter 2, we see that she's like an incredible, capable fighter. And we also get,
It's like an underground. Yeah, they had an underground bear fight in chapter 2, which is sick.
Well, and I guess I didn't grab it, but like the police chief or whoever like talks like with the bomb from the snow guy, right? Which happens in chapter 2 is like, oh, I need Ursula and Ralph on this. And it's like, oh, so are they like the really good cops that they need on the special assignments? Like that kind of threw me a little bit, because you're right. Cause their characterization in chapter 1 is like, they suck at this, or they messed up, or they didn't choose kind of the most sympathetic route, I guess you would say. And then in chapter 2, it's like, these guys are the specialists. She's like a hyper fighter. I mean, it even shows here in this panel, right, where they're kind of describing how the no-name powers work, where they're like, it's not enough to give a name that means something powerful. You have to have the talent and the training. And it like shows how, if Ursula wasn't super strong, she would just turn to a little bear, but she is well-trained and super strong, and she turns into a big, strong bear. So,
yeah, I worry that maybe the author and artist's intent was that this was kind of an unavoidable situation instead of police incompetency.
I agree with that. I think that because on my first read, it definitely I was confused, but it was definitely like, okay, I think I was supposed to see that like, oh, this is unavoidable. The mom was rabid or whatever, but also, yeah, the cops did fuck it up. So I don't know, but I mean, also thinking about his writing history with Cyberpunk, I mean, the cops are also not really the good guys in Cyberpunk. So I'm leaning more towards, okay, maybe there's an idea of, the cops aren't the good guys and these guys are cops. So,
so the thing is, I think they are the good guys here in that, well, these two at least, not the cops as a whole, because by all means, they have good intentions. They are good people, seemingly.
Yeah.
They're just naive and they blundered that job.
Yeah.
So, since it wasn't addressed that they blundered the job, I don't know if I just don't know the intention.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's like there's another panel where Ursula, like that lady, spit in her face and she turned into bear mode and was about to maul her. And I'm like, dude, you just shot the lady's daughter a second ago.
Yeah.
Reel it back.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. She definitely needs a therapy though. So, but this is like company therapy, as in like, do we need to like fire you or something?
Yeah, like, are you a danger to other people at work, or are you just a danger to people who are not police? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but so overall, I will say I'm more interested than I was, I guess, enthusiastic about these first 2 chapters, because this is different than a lot of stuff we get out of Japan, and I think that's its biggest strength is that this is taking it. I mean, there's sort of the Nordic angle with the naming stuff.
I thought it was really cool. The naming based powers is like a really dope idea, and it's like a fucked up future in a different way than Cyberpunk.
And we got some other ones like Belinda, the like bright serpent who does like hacking or whatever, and we got Frode.
I like her stupid joke, which is I don't bite, I bite. With spelled B-Y-T-E.
That's like a cringe joke. It's just like, Jesus.
It's bad. It's bad, but
it's really
I like it for a character.
Yeah, it's fun.
I suppose like my issues with this are non-issues if they were intentional, you know?
Yeah, and it's hard to know. It's hard to know if the intentions
It's hard to know.
Yeah. Which is a little bit of a failing. I guess you do kind of want the clarity of like, oh, my intentions are this, but that is something I think can come out in the long run. If we're supposed to sort of have different feelings at the start than at the end, like I said. So
I think like if it like is clear in the first volume, then we're Gucci, right?
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. We should let them cook, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like I said, I think that even though I like these first 2 chapters and love them necessarily, I am very interested to keep reading this for the meta reason of, hey, this is a Western, these are 2 non-Japanese creators, I think, and giving them as much publicity and views and, buying the volumes or whatever, showing Japan that there are other manga creators out there who would be serviced by their audience and their publishing skills, I think is great. Like this already has, I think, like over 100,000 views on Manga Plus, at least on our end. So which is really good. That's like more than most things.
It's unique. It's unique and interesting so far, and it gives me vibes that I haven't felt since like watching like a Black Lagoon, a Cowboy Bebop, where it mixes both the fun aspects and like the grim, dark realities of humanity. It weaves them both together. I won't say it weaves them well yet because there's only been 2 chapters and they're tonally very different. But I think like this is one of those where it's not all contained in one chapter. I think I'll read a whole volume and see how I feel after that.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm definitely in this for at least 10 chapters, which is probably 2 volumes. But yeah, I'm interested in this. I'm hyped. It doesn't take place in Tokyo. That's like a good thing. Here's the thing, like if this was written by a Japanese author, 99% this just takes place in Tokyo. Like, and I think it's refreshing that it doesn't.
Is this New York?
It doesn't really say. I think it's some Nordic. I mean, based on the names, I would guess that this is like some Nordic city. I don't know if we really know much about the location. It might just be sort of like undisclosed, alt universe town. Who knows? So yeah.
Well, Poland exists in this universe, so I assume it's like somewhere in the world. But I don't know. I guess they'll tell us later.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm happy that they got this chance. I'm excited that it's not bad. I mean, I don't think it's perfect for either of us, but I do think it's pretty good. I think the art.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's definitely interesting. And I think the art is pretty consistently great. And the visual storytelling and stuff. I have almost no complaints about the art, character design, visual design, all of that stuff I think is super good. So yeah.
Hey, side question here. Have you ever seen like a beast person in a manga that has 2 sets of ears like this?
Oh, I didn't notice that, but no, I have not.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I didn't notice that, but you're absolutely right. She has human ears and she has bear ears.
Bear ears, yeah.
Does her bear version have both ears? Hold on.
I think her bear version only has bear
just has the
ears.
bear ears. Okay.
It would look so weird if the bear version had
well, why does her human?
too.
Shouldn't her human version only have human ears? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe she might be wearing like a headband or something. That would be my guess. I don't know. Or it could. It's probably her ears. I would guess. But yeah.
I think it has to be her ears because it's still a little odd, but it's just a funny thing to notice.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Anything else about No Name?
Nope.
Yeah,
I had a good time with it.
Yeah, good one. Definitely interested in reading some more. Cool. Let's do some news, manga news. Here we go. All right. The big one here is you are probably listening. I might publish this one earlier. I don't know. If you're listening to this, My Hero Academia is either about to end or has just ended in Jump. So if you are interested in that, that will be our main focus in next week's podcast episode. We will probably spend a big chunk of time talking about the entirety of My Hero Academia, the ending. If you're a big fan of that, find another podcast next week because
I honestly, I'll be straight. We're probably gonna skew negative. Like we do with all My Hero Academia talks. We'll try to be fair, but we're going to skew negative.
Yeah.
So watch out for that.
Yeah.
If you love it.
I'm going to skew negative on the writing, I will say. We do have almost only positive things to say about Horikoshi's art, but...
and work ethic. I think the dude's a workhorse.
Oh, yeah.
He puts in the labor, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's not great.
So My Hero Academia is also going to have an announcement on August 5th. So that is either the Monday you're listening to this or a previous Monday. You probably listened to it a day or two late. We don't know what that is as of yet. I am hoping that that's Vigilante's anime because the anime is like right on the heels of the manga. Like it's going to finish, if not this season, then in maybe one more 12 episode group. So,
the Hero Academia anime proper. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So I really hope we get a Vigilantes adaptation. Vigilantes is awesome. I'd
love to see that.
Yeah. I mean, we covered the end of it, I think, on the podcast, didn't we? I think we did.
Did we cover Vigilantes ending?
I think we did because I think that was like early on one of our first episodes. Because I think that ended like January 22 or 23. I don't know. I think January.
Either way,
23,
great series.
Yeah, super good series. I grabbed this. This is a fun picture. This is Weekly Shonen Magazine, issue 35 of this year. is covering the live action adaptation of Akabane Honako no Bodyguards. This is Rao Murakami. This is the author posing as his main character on the cover. And I thought this was interesting and cool. And it also shows you like, oh, this guy might just be like a model for his own main character, which I think is cool.
Yeah, it's a self-insert.
Yeah,
kinda.
yeah. I mean, he's like, maybe they dressed him up and just gave him a wig and he just made him look like, but like being able to make a serious face like that, he's got some stuff going. So, I thought,
yeah, he looks just like him.
yeah, he really does, which I think is cool. And that's a really good series that I really need to get back to reading because I really enjoyed that that series of what I read from it about a year ago or so.
Yeah, it was a fun one. I've only read 2 chapters.
Yeah, it got on K-Manga, which is why we all stopped reading it. So
is that why?
yes,
okay. Yeah,
but it can be found, I'm sure, if you go the way of Monkey D. Luffy. Twin Star Exorcist ending September 4th. I've never read this. Have you ever read this, Gautam?
Yeah, I've read like 30 chapters of this.
Okay.
It started out pretty good.
Okay.
I don't remember it, to be honest. I
see it.
I remember good feelings reading it.
Yeah,
the 30 chapters I read.
Okay, it shows up on Reddit quite a bit with decent number of comments and stuff, so I think it's still decently popular, but that's ending about a month here.
Okay.
Netflix Geeked Week is September 16th. We are likely getting some One Piece live action season 2 news here. They are currently shooting, as far as I'm aware, they're currently shooting in South Africa right now. Maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, all of the actors kind of announced they were going down there. They will probably be at Geeked Week. My guess is that we will probably get the announcement and possible reveal of who's playing Robin, Chopper, Smoker, Croc, all or some of those group would be my guess. So in about a month and a half here, we should hopefully know who some of those are.
Yeah. Okay. I'm so curious about Chopper. In my brain, it's impossible to make this like universally beloved and not divisive.
Yeah. I don't think we'll get Chopper yet because I think that there will likely be a lot of post-production needed to get him going, but we might get the reveal of an actor or actress doing the voice or playing the motion capture. I think it's more likely we probably get Robin and Crocodile or Robin and Smoker or Robin, Smoker, Crocodile here.
Bruce, you know what I'd do?
What's that?
I would skip Drum Island and omit Chopper.
Ooh, I agree with you, but I think that most people would not. I think he would piss off more than half of the fan base by not including Chopper.
And what I would say to that half of the fan base is I would send them a clip of Radical Edward from the Cowboy Bebop show and say, this is why.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll see. I think that they can, my guess is what they'll do is they'll rewrite it to where Chopper's human form is in like a human-sized form more often, and it'll be...
I hate that. God,
it'll be
defeat the point.
Yeah, it'll be makeup like the Fishmen were. I'm hoping. I think that's probably the most reasonable thing they can do, but I don't know. We'll see.
I at that point don't even include Chopper. He's the mascot. He's the Pikachu of One Piece.
I mean, sometimes he'll be in the chibi form with the hat. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Trailer for Sakamoto Days anime is out. That looks pretty decent. I really hope they can nail the action. Hard to tell from the trailer, but pretty hyped for that. Hopefully it's good.
Oh, is it like a preview?
It's like a trailer, like a teaser trailer, I guess I would say, not like a full trailer. Okay. Yeah. My Senpai is Annoying. That is the manga with the big dude and the little girl with green hair. That ended. I never really read it. I think I might have hopped into a couple of chapters. That ended. Probably not going to talk about it, but rest in peace.
I read like 70 chapters.
Yeah.
Of it.
Another popular romance ended after 3 of them or 4 of them last week. So. Frieren is back on August 7th. That is pretty hype. We're in August, right? 8? Yes. So Frieren's back in a week, or as you're consuming this episode in a couple of days. So that's pretty hype. I'm glad they took a break. I am hyped for this arc. I'm excited for Frieren to come back. Free reign.
Yeah, me too. It's just always good. So looking forward to it.
All right, last thing on the news is there is a new Ultraman x Spider-Man collab manga series titled Ultraman Along Came a Spider-Man by Matsumoto Shigenobu and Tomo Hirokawa. That'll start in about 2 weeks here on Weekly Korokoro Web. It's a cool crossover. Marvel gets it. Marvel has a lot more Japanese manga crossovers than DC has right now. They are DC, there is, I saw this, like I didn't add it to the news thing. I don't know if you saw this. There is going to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Naruto crossover comic at some point.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that. I actually like that.
Yeah, I think
people were
that's
down on it on like the comments I read, but I think that's like a good crossover idea.
Yeah, I think that's a Western led, produced, whatever you want to say, effort. I think I know the author on it used to do, I don't remember. I think he used to do Power Rangers or something. But anyways,
is this a manga thing or is this like an animated?
I think it's a comic thing, which means that I think it is a Western comic creators drawing and writing a Naruto X TMNT thing. So
I don't know how the turtles will be able to keep up. Like the ninjas in Naruto do like magic.
Yeah, I don't know. I am not sure. I'm not big on Naruto, so but I do know that they do magic. So I think that's it for the news.
Do you know anything about Ultraman?
Not really. I know the movie just came out. And I know a little bit. It's kind of I guess it is the typical Sentai show, the typical sort of lone Sentai type, or tokusatsu Sentai. Both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Super Sentai. There's like a lot of Sentai fans out there, but I think it's still a bit. Anime and manga are like pretty popular and big now. They're mainstream, but I think Sentai is still, and the fan base is still in a niche, at least in the Western.
In the West, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Ultraman is very popular. I'm sure it's pretty good. So we'll see.
Yeah. No, I think it'll probably pop off in Japan.
Yeah, the Netflix very recently released an Ultraman movie that I heard was okay or pretty good. I don't know. So
I don't know if I'll get hate for this from Sentai fan. I don't really like how he looks. I like how Kamen Rider looks though.
I mean, Ultraman looks like he was designed in 1960, which he was. So they have not really updated the way he looks, which is, on one hand, I get it. On the other hand, bring that guy into the modern era, please.
Yeah, I think his face looks like a human face on what should be like a Iron Man-esque. But maybe I'm comparing him to like Iron Man.
Yeah, instead. I mean, he also just generally looks like a guy with a unitard and a helmet, which because it was, that's not anything outside. So.
Yeah, to be fair, I also think Superman shouldn't wear those briefs like that. So
that's good point.
I guess there's like a lot I don't like.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
What do you got going on this week?
New TFT set dropped, so I've been playing that. I think this is a really good set. I am enjoying it so far. Definitely.
Oh, I have to play it.
Yeah, definitely feels that kind of frustrating where you're like, oh man, I got all 8 shapeshifters and I should be winning, and then it's like I got 7th. I don't understand. Like it's just one of those. You're in that moment where it's like I don't understand the set. I thought I did. Yeah, there's like 2, like I've played, I don't know, maybe like 6 games total. And like 2 of the games, it was like, oh, I got the like emblem. I have 8 shapeshifters. Like I should be unbeatable. Should be so strong. And literally I'm getting like 6th or 7th. I'm like, wow, I made an amazing build. And it's like, nope, you got 5th. And then sometimes I'd be like, I don't know, I'm kind of strong, I guess. And it's like, wow, I'm killing everybody. Like, oh, okay, I won with 50 HP. I guess I won that one. So it's just that.
It's funny how it works because that's how like, I usually, like, when I come back and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, I end up winning. And then I'm like, okay, I think I have a grasp on this. I just tank. You know, I don't know how it works.
Yeah, no, it's exactly the same. I was like, okay, I'm going to really try to focus on like 1 or 2 builds. And I was like, I'm going to force this build. I did. And I was like, okay, I forced the build and I hit it and I got everything. And I got, a bunch of the suggested, items and all that jazz. And it was like, and I got 7th and I lost. And I was like, well, I'm never doing that again. And then I like played flexible and made a random board that's on like none of these guide websites. And it was like, okay, that got me first place. So I don't know.
I think it's just because you're playing so flexibly that you're not losing that much.
Yeah. But it's fun. It's a good
like
set.
That. Yeah.
I do think it's a lot. Feels like a lot more flexible of a set where it's like, it feels like you can like, oh, this is your carry, but your front line can be like 3 or 4 different things. So really interesting in that regard.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I can't wait to try it out. I'm holding off till I beat Skul the Hero Slayer, which is my thing. Coming up.
Talk about it.
It's a really fun roguelike. Roguelike or one of those. It's really fun. It's quite difficult, I find. Having played a lot of this genre, I think it's like one of the harder ones. But I'm enjoying it, and I plan on beating it before I even touch TFT because I know the moment I get into TFT again, I'll be obsessed.
This is the one with the masks, right? Or like,
yeah, it's a different skulls. He just replaces his, with like other heroes' skulls.
Gotcha.
And there's like a lot of heroes you like recognize. It's like Kratos is one of them. You can get a Kratos skull, a Dead Cell skull, and normally I'm not a huge homage guy where like the game is all homages to other games and media, but I think it really works here because it's cool to go from playing the Dead Cells cell guy to playing Kratos and then like swapping between the two. It's it feels like Smash Bros. In a way where you're playing a roguelike with all these iconic characters.
That does seem fun. Yeah, I watch streamers play a lot. It seems hard, and there's a lot of levels to weapons and spells and all that stuff, but yeah, seems cool.
Yeah, I haven't beaten. Let's see. I have like 10 hours in it, and I haven't beaten level 3.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one.
It's a tough one. Yeah. Neither of us brought Deadpool and Wolverine, which we both saw.
Oh, that's true.
And that was really good.
That's true.
I'll bring it up.
Yeah, let's talk about it shortly.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I thought it was a blast. Yeah. And I don't know. I checked like after we watched it and talked about it, I saw like the online consensus, and there was like a lot of people like, yeah, the plot was a little thin, and I'm like, what? Like, what are you? It's like criticizing a Family Guy plot. It's like, this is a shit post. Just enjoy the dumb fun.
Yeah, well, and it's like the plot is exactly as thin as the first two, but then everything else around it is way better, in my opinion. Like like Deadpool 1, whatever. It's funny, it's fine. I'm glad it made a lot of money. Deadpool 2, same thing. Fine, had some good laughs, some bad laughs. Too much Ryan Reynolds, great. Deadpool 3, I was like blown away how much I love that movie. I think that movie has something to say. Yeah.
It had heart. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah.
It has heart, and it really likes the old comic book movies that either failed or are forgotten in the kind of Marvel era, or things that never got made, which I think, that's like the heart of it. So,
and you know what? I think it also helps that we're millennials, because this is like a movie chock full of millennial movie references.
It is, because it is very much from like, I grew up on, the original 3 X-Men movies, and, that like I was 10 when X-Men and Spider-Man were I was perfect age. So
yeah, I think it was like the target demo was us.
Yeah.
Like the millennial audience of it all. Which I think makes it appeal more to us. It's like it panders more to us than it does like Gen Z or older generations.
Yeah, for sure. But that was good.
Maybe that's why we liked it more. Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Gautam? Are we good to get out of here?
Nah, let's go. Let's bail.
Let's not overstay our welcome. Hey, thanks again to everyone for listening or watching. Don't forget to leave us feedback and comments, upvote, thumbs up. Leave me comments on your DanDaDan theories. Tell me if you like it. If you find another Dan or another Da to throw in there, give it to me. I want to hear it. Absolutely get in the comments for that. Check out Twitter and Patreon, linked in the description. And I think that's it. Thank you for being with us yet again this week.
Goodbye.
And don't forget to read more manga.